Hey all, what's up? Jen here with another episode of the Otakuology podcast. This time we are doing Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. I'm just going to refer to it as Primal from now on, so hopefully you guys won't feel bad about that. But we're covering this episode, Season 1, Episode 1, Spear and Fang. So the synopsis for this episode is that tragedy forces a caveman and a dinosaur to rely on each other for their survival. So that's where we kind of get who Spear and Fang are. Fang is our dinosaur, and Spear is our caveman. So getting into it, in this first episode, we have Spear. That's the name of our caveman, obviously, like I said earlier. Spear is fishing for his family for their dinner in a stream that is actually pretty far away when we start getting into it. But he is fishing, and we don't really have a context for him just yet when it comes to the reality that he lives in. Until a giant crocodile alligator thing, which should be a Sarco, jumps out of the water trying to get him, and he swims away from it underwater until it actually goes downstream and leaves him alone. But it's huge. So we obviously know that we're in some kind of dinosaur back in the day scenario with this, especially since Spear is obviously the caveman that is in it. But we have him fishing and doing that. He gets plenty of fish and heads home. And in this kind of weird turn of events, we have these kind of like T-Rex dinosaurs that have like rhinoceros horns, kind of. Some of them do, some of them don't. But they're all of kind of an average size to like what we'll see with Fang. They're big enough, a little bit bigger than a horse, I would say, because Spear can ride on the back of Fang and it doesn't look too crazy. But in this episode, we have these red and brown kind of T-Rex actually kill Spear's wife and his two kids, and that they have a giant dinosaur that's their mother as well, for these little dinosaurs that killed his family. From there on, he kind of gets in this mood where he's trying to hunt them down and find where they went. And when he gets farther into it, we find out that they are still kind of following him to an extent. And when they do follow him and everything, that he ends up finding Fang, which Fang is this blue kind of smaller T-Rex dinosaur that has a big tooth on her right side. And she has two little youngins that basically these other T-Rex come in at. Between Spear and Fang, they kill the three younger ones that are about the same size as Fang. And then we have the mother kind of big red brown T-Rex one come in and actually eat both of Fang's children. And that's kind of the union between Fang and Spear, is that this family of these kind of red T-Rex actually eat their families. And out of that, as our synopsis says, basically blossoms this kind of like friendship between Spear and Fang. And I mean, they're bound to kind of like let it go to an extent, I guess, towards each other. But the fight scenes in this are phenomenal. The other funny thing is the fact of how strong with part of this stuff that Spear is, because Spear can be pretty far away and hurl his spear through a dinosaur. And Fang has such a good jaw snap on her that she can virtually bite any kind of animal that's her size or bigger and snap their neck in half. So that's also a little weird thing that kind of happens and comes out of a lot of this stuff. But by the end of this, we actually get where Spear's walking off and Fang actually follows him. And they become kind of this pretty cool, awesome, dynamic duo for Spear and Fang. Yeah, so they end up joining up as a team. And the one thing that I find really phenomenal about this whole thing is really there's no talking in it. A lot of this show relies on the sounds that are around. You might hear like some bugs buzzing or some animal making a noise here or there, the grass underneath somebody's feet as they walk, them bumping into something. It's really good. I don't remember there really being any talking or anything besides yelling, which is how Spear and Fang kind of talk to each other. But until the last episode. Episode 10 is kind of where we get this one thing where another human being actually ends up talking to him, not by yelling. And that we also have the first words of Spear where he actually says his character's name in episode 10. But with this, it's actually pretty cool. I like the way that this is set up because of that it makes you rely on the sound and everything else. The sound and the visual. Now, the other thing that it reminds me of is if anybody's ever read or seen the manga Gone, or in the TV show, it's the same thing. There's other characters that support him in that actually talk, but in that he doesn't really talk, besides knowing how to say gone, just kind of like it is in the manga. But I think that with both mediums for a TV show and a manga, that relying on that heavily and relying on how well your art is, it's kind of a ballsy move. Like, you have to have like pretty good art to pass both those off. So it's really cool though when it comes down to it, the fact of with this show that it relies on that for the surrounding sounds and other thing. And I love how, even though we're kind of in this kind of Jurassic thing and we think that how Spear is set up, that there's really not too much to worry about, or how Fang is a T-Rex and seems like nothing will ever hurt them. But they're hurt almost all the time, so it's kind of a crazy thing to see how they get hurt and how they come out of it. And just kind of move forward with themselves, because they are Spear and Fang, as I said, about this dynamic duo that is just trying to keep their head above water and survive and make sure that they don't end up somebody else's food. Even though different people have tried different things like that on and off throughout the series. But it is pretty good. Fang kind of has like the brute force of everything. And Spear is kind of like the brains, but also has like a brute force to him. And it almost seems like at some points that that Fang relies on Spear a little more when Spear is pretty good by himself. he just isn't as durable as as Fang. So that's kind of our first episode in a nutshell. More stuff that I really like about this series is the fact of everything is pretty natural in it. So I find it really cool how they show and present the primal aspect of it, these dinosaurs and all that. Because throughout this first episode, we kind of see different stuff like that and don't really think about it. We do, but we don't, of how well just kind of how well the whole thing kind of goes together, with who is supposed to make sure they do what, and Fang and Spear working together towards their objectives. Because it seems like they're supposed to just be surviving, and that's it. They're just living together, they're surviving. But during the same time as that, they're also going on all these travels. And that's kind of the cool thing about their stories. Episode 1, we do have a little action, but not very much. And like I was saying earlier, like, we do have where they make sounds and everything, especially like kids or whatever. But it just seems how crazy that is, that there's not the aspect of talking like we would imagine it to be. So overall for this episode, though, as my final thoughts, there's really not too awful much in this series for you to actually focus on and actually watch too much of, especially with this first episode. There's not too much action besides the whole T-Rex fight, and that's kind of the big thing that you want to rely on, especially because you don't have characters having long-winded speeches or anything else like that. Most of the stuff that we see is pretty quick. It's a yell at, Fang or Spear or something like that, vice versa. But we don't really have other characters too much that actually say anything, unless it's in the form of a yelp or something like that as well. And it makes it for a really good watch, honestly. I feel like if you just want to lay down and listen to it, or just lay down and kind of like watch it, it's great for that, because most of it actually is just you watching it, listening to it, and visuals seeing everything and how everything works, because there's not a thick plot. There's not any of this other stuff. They just come together and work together to make sure that they survive, no matter what. And I have seen all of this already, and it is very, very amazing. So I hope that as we kind of unravel the mystery, I can give y'all a few like Easter eggs or hint as we go. Not entirely sure, but maybe. But this was a very, very good show. I loved it. I mean, I extremely loved it. And it's actually, the title of it is actually Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. And that's how you'll actually find it. You can type Primal in and it might give it to you. Right now it's on HBO Max. But it is a splendid story of a caveman guy and a dinosaur, and how they coexist, with the dinosaur at times seeming like a giant dog, and at the other times seeming like an angry woman. So we do have a lot of stuff that our main guy goes through. But I feel like this one goes really well with just some of the other stuff that we've seen, per se, cartoon-wise, and how it's going to make sense, or how it's not, or, what the objective is. I think that's kind of a lot of stuff rolled into one. But as always, guys, like we like to say here on the podcast, thanks for listening. We will catch you later. And see you next Tuesday.